Episode 3: The Ghost Ship Mystery. A ship was found drifting in the ocean, with no one on board. What happened to the Mary Celeste? The ocean is a graveyard that keeps no headstones. It is a place where the most solid realities, wood, iron, and human resolve can simply dissolve into the mist. In December of 1872, a ship drifted alone across a silent ocean. She was a vessel moving with the wind, but without a hand on the wheel. Her name would echo through history as a chilling warning. The Mary Celeste sailed with purpose and returned with none. 10 lives once trusted her wooden bones, 10 souls who breathed, planned, and hoped. None would ever walk ashore again. The voyage began in the chaotic, salt-thick air of New York's crowded harbor in November 1872. It was a scene of industrial optimism. Captain Benjamin Briggs, a man who led his life and his vessel with faith and discipline, stood at the helm. This was not a lonely voyage for a weary sailor. It was a family endeavor. His wife, Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter, Sophia, sailed beside him, venturing into the unknown reaches of the Atlantic. Below the deck, the ship carried a volatile secret. Their cargo was alcohol, thousands of barrels of raw industrial spirit sealed in wooden silence. As they left the harbor, the Atlantic stretched before them, not as a highway, but like a living grave. For days, the Mary Celeste moved through the world of the living without warning or sign. Then, on December 5th, the horizon shifted. Another ship, the Dei Gratia, spotted a silhouette drifting aimlessly. The crew approached with a caution born of maritime instinct. What they found was the Mary Celeste, but she was a shell. No voices answered their shouts across the water. When the boarding party from the Dei Gratia stepped onto the deck, the scene was a tableau of impossible abandonment. Her sails were still raised, some torn and flapping, catching the wind that moved her towards nowhere. The crew was gone, yet the ship remained perfectly seaworthy and intact. Food still waited on the table, a meal prepared for people who had vanished in a heartbeat. Personal belongings lay untouched in the cabins, as if the owners intended to return within the hour. There were no signs of struggle, no splashes of blood, and no evidence of devastating storm damage, only a profound, terrifying absence. The lifeboat had vanished, the only physical clue to a panicked exit. It was a mystery born on calm seas. Inside the walls of the ship, it felt as though time had frozen. The logbooks, the only voice the ship had, stopped mid-sentence on November 25th. There was no final plea for help, no description of a monster or a mutiny. As the news reached land, speculation flooded the world like a rising tide. The violent theories. Pirates were blamed for a massacre that left no blood, yet the valuable cargo was untouched. Sea monsters were imagined by those who could not grasp the silence, giant krakens reaching from the depths to pluck souls from the deck. But the ship was unharmed. If violence had occurred, the wood would have told the story. Instead, it remained mute. The rational fears. Investigators focused on the cargo. They suspected poisoned fumes from the alcohol or feared a sudden invisible explosion. Factual analysis suggests that as the ship moved into warmer waters, the industrial alcohol may have expanded, leaking vapors that built up in the hold. To a captain responsible for his wife and child, the sound of a rumbling hatch or the smell of volatile gas might have signaled an imminent blast. In a moment of sheer terror, Briggs may have ordered everyone into the small lifeboat, tethering it to the ship to wait for the air to clear. But the ocean is cruel to those who leave the safety of high wooden walls. Perhaps a rogue wave, a wall of water born of a distant storm, swept the deck clean in a single, devastating second.
Or perhaps, while the crew waited in the lifeboat, the tether snapped. They would have watched, helpless, as the Mary Celeste, perfectly buoyant and indifferent, sailed away from them into the fog, leaving 10 souls to be swallowed by the deep. Investigators searched desperately for answers, but the sea offered none. The Vice Admiralty Court in Gibraltar treated the case with suspicion, almost like a murder trial. The case was eventually closed without a conclusion, leaving the truth anchored at the bottom of the sea. The Mary Celeste was eventually returned to service, but she was a marked vessel. Her reputation never recovered from the ghosts she carried. Sailors whispered that she was cursed. Her name transitioned from a ledger of shipping to the annals of legend. Writers like Arthur Conan Doyle transformed her into a myth, adding layers of fiction, like the famous warm tea on the table, to a reality that was already too strange to believe. We are left with a ship made of questions and a crew made of silence. History has left the Mary Celeste unfinished. The questions she raised outlived the very people who first asked them, crossing centuries without an answer. Where facts collapse, legends grow. The ship became a mirror for our collective fear of the unknown, a reminder that we are only ever guests upon the water. The sea kept what humans could not protect. No graves mark the end of Captain Briggs or his family. Only the waves speak their names. The Mary Celeste never reached her destination, but she arrived in history, a vessel without an ending, a question without a voice. The ocean wrote the final chapter of her voyage and left the pages blank. Even today, the Mary Celeste sails in the periphery of our memory. History still waits for a return that will never happen, and the mystery remains unsolved. The ocean refuses to testify, and the ship is determined to keep her secret. Some stories are meant to drift forever, for the vast oceans that form our planet sometimes become dark vortices that devour lives and stories into oblivion.